Which bone forms the base of the skull? Occipital. It forms the rear and a significant portion of the base of the skull, featuring the large opening called the foramen magnum through which the spinal cord connects to the brain. Which joint allows rotation of the forearm? Radial ulnar. There are two of these joints, the proximal and the distal, both of which are essential for the movements of the forearm, where the radius bone rotates around the ulna. Which hormone controls sleep cycles? Melatonin. It is produced by the pineal gland in response to darkness. Which structures transport urine from the kidney to bladder? Ureters. These are muscular tubes that relax and contract and forces the urine to move from the renal pelvis at the kidney to the bladder for storage. Which organ stores vitamins and iron? Liver. It is the primary organ responsible for storing excess iron and fat-soluble vitamins, such as vitamins A, D, E, and K, as well as vitamin B12. Which tissue forms the inner lining of organs? Epithelium. It forms continuous sheets that protect underlying tissues, while also allowing absorption and secretion depending on the organ. Which artery supplies the heart muscle? Coronary. These arteries branch from the aorta and deliver oxygen-rich blood directly to the cardiac muscle, ensuring its constant activity. Which nerve transmits sound signals to the brain? Cochlear. It carries information from the inner ear by converting vibrations into electrical signals that the brain interprets as sound. Which bone forms the lower jaw? Mandible. It is the largest and strongest bone of the face, holding the lower teeth in place and enabling chewing and speech. Which organ removes old blood cells from circulation? Spleen. It filters blood and breaks down damaged red blood cells and contributes to immune defense by producing lymphocytes. Which structure prevents blood backflow in veins? Valves. They are flap-like structures that open and close with blood flow, ensuring one-way movement toward the heart against gravity. Which tissue provides structural support to organs? Connective. It surrounds and binds tissues, provides strength and elasticity, and includes types such as bone, cartilage, and fat. Which muscle forms the calf of the leg? Gastrocnemius. It is a two-headed muscle that joins with the Achilles tendon, allowing plantar flexion essential for walking, running, and jumping. Which nerve controls eye movement? Oculomotor. It innervates most of the eye muscles, allowing coordinated movement, focusing, and control of pupil size for proper vision. Which structure protects the brain from injury? Skull. It forms a rigid bony case that encloses the brain, supporting the face while shielding the central nervous system from trauma. Which blood cells aid clotting? Platelets. They are small cell fragments that gather at injury sites, form plugs, and trigger the clotting cascade to prevent blood loss. Which organ senses balance and spatial orientation? Vestibule. It is part of the inner ear that detects head position and linear movement, and help with equilibrium and posture. Which muscle raises the arm sideways? Deltoid. It is a triangular muscle covering the shoulder that lifts the arm away from the body and also assists with rotation. Which gland regulates growth in children? Pituitary. It releases growth hormone and other hormones that influence bone elongation, tissue development, and overall maturation. Which muscle flexes the forearm? Biceps. It is a two-headed muscle on the upper arm that contracts to bend the elbow and also assists in rotating the forearm. Which tissue lines internal cavities? Epithelium. It creates protective linings inside organs and body cavities while regulating absorption, secretion, and selective permeability. Which organ detoxifies ammonia? Liver. It processes ammonia, a toxic byproduct of protein metabolism, by converting it into urea that is later excreted in urine. Which nerve controls swallowing muscles? Vagus. It carries signals that coordinate the muscles of the throat and esophagus, enabling swallowing and regulating vital reflexes. Which organ stores glycogen? Liver. It maintains blood sugar by releasing energy when needed. Which muscle rotates the head? Sternocleidomastoid. It turns and tilts the head for orientation.